In this video, we will discuss the Bush administration from 2001 to 2009 and the first term of the Obama presidency. Both presidents will contribute to the ongoing culture wars, dividing the nation into two camps, blue and red. Democrats look to continue control of the White House in the 2000 election. They pointed to the booming economy of the 1990s and the absence of any serious threat to American security as reasons for voters to leave the presidency in Democratic hands. The Republicans ran the governor from Texas and son of former President Bush, George W. Bush. The Democrats ran Vice President Al Gore. There would be a third-party candidate, Ralph Nader, from the Green Party. Although not a political threat, third-party candidates always take votes from one of the major parties. Bush ran as the outsider who could fix the problems in Washington. Gore, burdened by Clinton's impeachment, wouldn't allow Clinton to campaign on his behalf until the last couple weeks of the election. As election results poured in, it was obvious that this would be a close election, and all eyes focused on Florida. At the end of the night, after CNN had already declared Gore the winner, they reversed and declared Bush the victor. Bush's victory was only by 930 votes. After a mandatory recount, Bush led Gore in the state by 537 votes. Ralph Nader, the candidate of the new Green Party, drew over 90,000 votes in Florida, which denied Gore a comfortable victory. Gore appealed to the Florida Supreme Court. The Florida Supreme Court ordered recounts, but Bush's lawyers appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court to stop the recounts, fearing a recount might wipe out their small margin of victory. In Bush versus Gore, the Supreme Court ruled that the Florida Supreme Court's scheme for recounting ballots was unconstitutional. The dissenting minority protested the majority ruling, stating that a proper recount was possible and that Florida's decision should be respected because of federalism. Divided or not, the court had decided the election. The original certification of Bush's victory stands. The next day, Gore gracefully conceded and Bush became the president-elect. Bush wins 271 to 266. Kicked out of his home country of Saudi Arabia in 1991, Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, established bases in Afghanistan, when the Muslim extremist group the Taliban offered him refuge. One of the factors that Osama bin Laden gave for conducting the 9/11 attacks was the presence of U.S. troops in the Middle East, and specifically in the Holy Land of Saudi Arabia. They were left there since the Persian Gulf War of 1991. 19 al-Qaeda terrorists hijacked 4 commercial jets and flew 2 of them into New York City's World Trade Center, destroying its twin towers and killing over 2,600 people. A third plane plowed into the Pentagon near Washington, D.C., and killed almost 200 passengers and Defense Department employees. The fourth, presumably headed for the White House, crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, when the passengers fought back and thwarted the hijackers. Bush didn't have to look long to discover the mastermind behind the September 11th attacks. Osama bin Laden, a wealthy Saudi, released videotapes claiming responsibility on behalf of his terrorist organization, Al-Qaeda. Soon after the attacks of 9/11, President Bush proclaimed a war on terror and vowed to carry the battle to Al-Qaeda. Operating out of Afghanistan, Al-Qaeda was targeted by U.S. forces. When the Taliban refused to turn over the mastermind Osama bin Laden, the U.S. attacked, using airstrikes and missiles to destroy the enemy. By early 2002, this lethal combination had defeated the Taliban government, destroyed the al-Qaeda training camps, and killed or captured many of its operatives. Bin Laden retreated to a mountain fortress and later escaped over the border into Pakistan. The U.S. will have to commit ground forces, and the fighting continues in Afghanistan to this day. Bush would not see the capture of Osama bin Laden as president. That would not occur until May 2, 2011, when bin Laden was captured and killed during the first Obama administration. On the domestic side, Bush wanted the government's powers of domestic surveillance increased to prevent another terror attack. Congress quickly passed the USA Patriot Act, which granted the federal government the authority to monitor citizens and apprehend terror suspects. The Patriot Act also gave federal authorities the power to use roving wiretaps and rendition, the apprehension and transfer of a person from one country to another for the purpose of interrogation in countries known to use torture. These policies seem to violate our Bill of Rights. Remember, however, that the Supreme Court has already set a precedent regarding civil liberties during wartime. In Shank v. U.S., the Supreme Court ruled that it was okay if it represented a clear and present danger to the U.S. During times of war, we feel that it's okay to limit citizens' rights in exchange for national security. In November 2002, Congress approved a massive reorganization of the federal government to improve security at home. The new Department of Homeland Security includes the Immigration and Naturalization Service, Customs Service, Coast Guard, Secret Service, Federal Airport Security Works, or TSA, bioterrorism experts, and many others. With 170,000 employees, it is the second largest federal agency after the Defense Department. In 2004, Congress adopted a package of reforms to improve intelligence gathering and analysis, creating the position of Director of National Intelligence to oversee the CIA and report directly to the President. On January 29, 2002, President Bush delivered his second State of the Union address, where he repeated his vow to punish all nations sponsoring terrorism, including Iraq. The Bush Doctrine declared that the U.S. reserved the right to attack dangerous states, even absent any imminent threat. Fearing that Saddam Hussein was developing weapons of mass destruction and a possible connection to 9/11, Congress approved an invasion of Iraq. In Operation Iraqi Freedom, the U.S. used military forces to invade Iraq to remove Saddam Hussein from power and eliminate his ability to develop those weapons of mass destruction. 130,000 U.S. and 30,000 British troops entered southern and central Iraq, and within 3 weeks the troops had taken Baghdad. The Iraqi regime collapsed, and Saddam Hussein was eventually captured. But that's when the war dissolved into a bloody insurgency. The war would last into the Obama administration. By the end of August 2005, Hurricane Katrina devastated the Gulf Coast. At first, it seemed to spare New Orleans, much of which lies below sea level, but its backlash breached levees that protected the city. Much of the city and its surroundings flooded. Tens of thousands of residents who had not evacuated found themselves trapped in homes or huddled in the Superdome. The slow and inadequate response of the federal government raised serious doubts about the effectiveness of the Department of Homeland Security. It also revealed the deep fault line that is still separating the poor from larger society. Behind the growing discussion about whether and how to rebuild New Orleans on its vulnerable site was the larger problem of continuing inequality. The Great Recession was linked to the banking and financial crisis of 2008. This financial crisis was caused by the use of subprime mortgages. Subprime mortgages are home loans granted to borrowers with poor credit histories. Their home loans are considered high-risk loans. With the housing boom in the early to mid-2000s, mortgage lenders lent money to Americans who wouldn't normally be able to secure a home loan. And as housing prices continued to rise, other banks acquired thousands of these risky mortgages in bulk as an investment in hopes of a quick profit. Starting in 2007, several financial institutions began to fail, followed by falling home prices. With home prices low, many Americans owed more money than their house was worth. As the crisis continued, large investment firms like Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers declared bankruptcy, to which the federal government loaned $85 billion to stay in business. The federal government also purchased struggling companies and bailed out automakers General Motors and Chrysler, as well as the banking giant Bank of America. In 2008, the Democratic Party had a highly contested primary to select its candidate for the presidential election. The two frontrunners were Senators Barack Obama from Illinois and Senator Hillary Clinton from New York. Obama won the nomination of the Democratic Party in August of 2008, becoming the first African American to win the nomination of a major party for president. John McCain would win the Republican nomination, rejecting the Bush administration and promising change. Hoping to add his own history to the campaign, McCain selected only the second woman to run for vice president, and the first ever for the Republican Party, Sarah Palin. On November 4, 2008, Barack Obama became the first African American president of the U.S. by winning a decisive victory 365 to 173 in the Electoral College and 53% of the popular vote. In May 2009, President Obama nominated Sonia Sotomayor for the U.S. Supreme Court to replace retired Justice David Souter. She is the court's first Hispanic justice and its third female justice. On the court, Sotomayor has been a reliable member of the liberal bloc when the justices divide along the commonly perceived ideological lines. In May 2010, President Obama nominated Elena Kagan to the U.S. Supreme Court to replace the retiring John Stevens. Hoping to dig the country out of recession, Congress passed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009. It was a $787 billion plan that included spending for healthcare, infrastructure, education, various tax breaks and incentives, and direct assistance to individuals. It also referred to as the Economic Stimulus Package. Public and private forecasters ranging from the Council of Economic Advisors to Moody's Economy and the IHS Global have said the Recovery Act was responsible for 2 million jobs, or even more nationwide in the first year alone. Hillary Rodham Clinton is a graduate of Wellesley College and Yale Law School. As First Lady, she was put in charge of fixing America's healthcare problems. She came up with the Clinton Healthcare Plan of 1994. When they left the White House in 2001, the Clintons moved to New York so she could run for the open Senate seat. She became the First Lady to run for political office and won with 55% of the vote. She served on 5 different Senate committees. She ran for a second term in the Senate in 2006, winning by an even wider margin of 67% of the vote. In 2008, she ran for Democratic nomination for president, losing narrowly to Barack Obama. After winning the election, President Obama nominated Hillary for Secretary of State, the face and voice of America to the world. She is the 3rd woman to hold this position. She is the most widely traveled secretary during her time in office and also championed the use of social media in getting the U.S. message out. In 2016, Hillary became the first woman to win the nomination of a major party for president. Despite winning the popular vote, she lost in the Electoral College to outsider Republican candidate Donald Trump.